was. Oh, was it playing my Spotify? I'm so confused what the audio was that was just playing, but oh well, it stopped. I don't know what the hell's going on. Off to a great, fun start for these streams. At least my mic's working. At least my mic is working. Hi Zach, how are you? Hi Larissa, how are you? How are you? How are you, Dakota? Hi Matthew. First time I get to catch a live in a long time. How have you been? I am doing all right, Floor. I've been starting a new internship, so that's been interesting. It's been more of like what I want to do, so that's been, you know, interesting to start doing and getting into the field and such. But yeah, it's something that just like, you know, it helps what I'm doing now, for right now. But yeah, so been good that way. Health has been all over the place. Hopefully my back stuff will be done Friday. But yeah, how are you doing? Hi No Sage, how are you? And by the way, you know, I can tell you're from the Discord because calling me Goblin King. And for a fun factoid, for the real OGs, you will know that on Discord, my name is the Goblin King, not the Grease Goblins. It's also a shout out to what my second channel used to be called, but you know. What's the field? So it's mass communications, but then underneath that, I'm going into like digital design and video editing. So it kind of fits what we're doing here on YouTube. So I don't know, just very fitting. I enjoy it. Hi Jason, how are you? Noah, how are you? How are you? Not sure. Yeah, I figured. If you come in here saying Goblin King, I can tell. That's all I'll say. But we're gonna be doing a Q&A today. We're gonna be doing Winds of Winter, A Song of Ice and Fire. I feel like I didn't preference that it was just like you could do any Song of Ice and Fire stuff as well. Or even if these Q&As, if you see them and it's for a stream or something, you can just ask me whatever. But I try to, you know, focus it a little bit. But we're going to start on, let's do Discord first so I can get that out of the way. I want to get Discord and Instagram first. So if you're not on those platforms, I also put Q&As out there if you don't see them on the community for getting in questions for videos or streams. So we'll start on those platforms. Then we'll go to YouTube and, you know, hopefully, you know, if you guys have any questions throughout here, feel free to ask them. I'll try to get to them as best I can. I want to get through everybody's that actually submitted questions, and then, yeah, we'll talk about it. Hi, Agor. How are you? All right. So let's start. Let's do Discord first. So we have a question from Jim. Will we see Robb Stark's body again? The book foreshadows his dead body many times in his dreams. I think, or in dreams. I don't know why I preference by in his dreams, but I do think we'll see his body again. I think the purpose of it will be kind of as a trophy, like Dakota says in the chat after. I think personally, it's gonna be something we're gonna see when the Freys get kind of taken out. I think it's gonna be similar when we see this Revenge Red Wedding 2.0, whatever you want to call it. I think Robb's body will kind of be a symbol of like the phrase of, oh, they uprooted all these upper houses that look down on the Freys and they put them in their place. It's going to be seen as kind of a symbol, very similar to like the song The Reigns of Castamere in World for the Lannisters. It's like their signal of power. Don't mess with us or this is what happens to you. That's what I think we'll see it. I don't think it's going to be used in terms of bringing Robb back, even though I think it's an interesting theory. But that is what I think the purpose of it will be, Jim. It will be to show, remind us, the viewers, of the tragedies that happened at the Red Wedding and all of that. But it's going to be a symbol of the Freys and their type of power and how they're trying to kind of show that to the others or in the area, especially the Riverlands, right? So you think about the houses that are not really in line, that have kind of had been coerced into line by Jaime or the Lannisters and all that. So that's what I think his body, if it reappears, will be in the story. I think some Freys will live on. Dakota. I am not too bad, Igor. Not too bad. I was not sure if I was going to stream today because we were supposed to have really bad weather today, and I'm going to be honest, I guess we maybe missed it because there was like supposed to be really bad, like maybe tornadoes around the area, and we just got like a thunderstorm, and it's kind of been going for a little while. But yeah. Hi Zeno, how are you? Moving on, let's go to Wheezy's question. Will the others be dealt with in the Winds of Winter, while A Dream of Spring will be George R. R. Martin's scouring of the Shire, or will the others issue be concluded in A Dream of Spring? I think it has to be A Dream of Spring. I see there's no chance in hell that the others could be dealt with in one book. You've got to remember where we're at in the book at the time, right? The others still yet have even been able to find a way through the wall. That conflict hasn't even begun. And so for that to be wrapped up in, say, like half a book doesn't really seem right, given that that's kind of what we've been building towards this whole time. It'd be very similar to like season 8, right? Where the others, you know, they were there and then they got dealt with very quickly, right? So that's kind of where I'd push back on that idea. I think personally, we're going to see kind of the two conflicts, you know, struggling, right? In that last book, right? The idea of who's sitting the throne, what's our plan after the others? Like, who is going to be in charge? Will there be some sort of different government and all of that? And yeah. Also, Jason, welcome to the Discord. I think you did somebody follow me on Instagram as well? No, never mind. All right. So we had another question from Dakota. Was the reason that Jaime wanted to fight Ned so bad is to prove that he, Jaime, is better than Arthur Dayne, since as far as the realm is concerned, Ned beat Dayne in single combat. So I think there's a lot going into that. I personally don't think Jaime particularly cares about being better than Arthur Dayne, right? Because there's always going to be the comparison, right? Given what we know, Arthur Dayne is dead. So Jaime as a character, you can't really overcome that legacy. And also people still think Barristan is better than Jaime, or it's, you know, it's back and forth. So I don't think so. I think a lot more of that was driven towards, okay, Ned had Tyrion captured. Well, that's what Ned says anyway. And also you have all of this prejudice that Ned holds against Jaime, and the way that he talks down to him and views him as someone that's dishonorable and all these things. It goes against everything that Jaime really wants for himself. Ned is quite literally the biggest antagonist to Jaime because Ned stands for everything that goes against Jaime. So in a lot of ways, it's almost Jaime respects Ned because in a lot of ways, Jaime would like to be like Ned, very honorable and a person that, you know, it seems like a very good moral person, right? And because of the way all of this has been thrown on to Jaime because of the Mad King stuff, people not knowing the full story, he can never be that person. So it's a lot of internal conflict that Jaime's kind of seeing, but also all of the people that are always calling him a Kingslayer and all of that, it's amplified by this character of Ned. It's personified in that character. I hope I answered that well enough for you, Dakota. How do you think Jon and Dany's story will end in Winds of Winter? So Dany's story has to end with her coming to Westeros. Whether that's her landing in Dragonstone, whether that's her on a ship towards Westeros, like we see at the end of season 6, I believe, it has to end in that manner, in which Daenerys is finally entering the plot. Because if she's not doing that, then we still have to resolve that plot to get the ball moving. I do not think the other's threat is going to be dealt with without Daenerys. So Daenerys is going to have to move quite quickly through this book. Now, Jon's in an interesting position because I think Jon is going to, his main reveal is going to be, again, I think season 6, the end of season 6 is quite similar to where I think Winds of Winter would end in terms of what our characters are doing and all of that. The North has to be unified for the most part behind some sort of figurehead or group of people or leaders. Jon, I think, will be one of those. Given he's coming south, he's going to be coming to the Neck. I think that is a logical area of him to be at. And you think about all the characters that we know are going to be there, right? Howland Reed, who's going to have some information of what happened at the Tower of Joy, maybe his parentage. We're going to see other people that have at least knowledge of Robb's will interacting with Jon as well. And so I think the most logical endpoint for Jon is he gets to the Neck, he gets to these characters, and we see him basically being legitimized. And how do we end that? Is it going to be he's going to be King of the North, Regent of the North for maybe someone like Rickon? All of that, I think, is going to come to fruition at the end of the book. I think that's a natural point of which everything gets revealed for Jon so we can get the ball rolling, and Daenerys also landing at the same time. I think that really is where that should end. There's no chance of a Dream of Spring. Unfortunately, I do think that is very likely, but you like to, you know, have some hope. Did you see the news about the new Game of Thrones game and development is set between seasons. I don't know much about it. I saw Voice of Oldtown. He posted something, and it makes no sense. The most logical point, if you're going to make a game during the time period of a Game of Thrones, the best time to do it would be right after season 1. It's the most logical point. It's where war breaks out. I don't understand that. I don't understand why you would do that. Or again, like you said, pick another time period, right? It makes so much sense. The Dance with the Dragons, perfect place. The first Blackfire Rebellion. There's just so many other different points of history that's way more interesting. Hi, Jesse. How are you? Yeah, I think Sheldon, I think he's going to die in a way better way than just by bricks. I think that's very logical. I think Jaime's pride always wanted to beat Dane, and then Ned retired, not giving him the chance. That's very possible. Again, I just don't kind of read Jaime as that kind of a character. I don't know. Jaime and Cersei will probably die together, but will be most definitely not be by being smushed by rubble. I agree. Do you honestly think the Winds of Winter is ever going to come out? Okay, so Jesse, now that we're on my Instagram questions, I think somebody asked that specifically on Instagram. Let me look. But to answer that question, I do think we will get Winds of Winter. Kyle, and it actually ended up asking that on Instagram, so thank you for your question. But I do think we will get Winds of Winter at some point. Or at least if we don't get the full book, I think we will get what George has of Winds of Winter. And that is kind of where the series basically ends. If we don't get Winds of Winter. But I do think that we will see at least most of Winds of Winter. Daenerys dies and Aegon is real and gets all the dragons. You heard it here. I hope so. That'd be great. So Winds of Winter is basically a season 6 of A Song of Ice and Fire. Yeah. In a very broad sense, Winds of Winter in season 6 more or less is where we should be, right? Outside of some things are way different, right? In terms of how do we get the North unified is going to be way different because Stannis is still alive. I think he's going to win some battles. I think that whole dynamic is going to be way different. But yes, logically, the endpoints are kind of the same outside of certain plot lines. Like certain plot lines, obviously, no. But yeah, it's weird to like say it like that because all the plot lines are way different in terms of where things are at in the story, right? So for instance, Arya is still in Braavos, and it's like in Winds of Winter, I expect her to be out of Braavos by like the first third to like half of the book. So like that's way different because that doesn't happen until the end of season 6. So yeah. How do you think Littlefinger will handle Stannis if they meet? I don't think they're going to meet. And specifically the reason I don't think they would ever meet, and again, I think Stannis is not going to escape the North. I think he's going to go down with the ship more or less. But Littlefinger is someone that was scheming. He was kind of loyal to Joffrey. He was in that small council. Stannis would not like Littlefinger at all. Stannis and Littlefinger were on the same small council. Stannis kind of knows the person Littlefinger is, and I don't think Stannis would put up with Littlefinger's bullshit. So I personally think that if it came down to those two meeting, I don't think Littlefinger would really have a chance. I don't think there'd be any way of him outmaneuvering Stannis in terms of like manipulating him or any of that stuff. I think the Winds of Winter will release winter of 2025 or 2026. I agree. I think it has to be released in the winter time though, because if it's not, that's just weird. But Krenigman confirmed for battle against the others. I'd say yes. I agree. Baldur's Gate style Song of Ice and Fire game, that would be cool. Hi Ben, how are you? Hope you're doing well. Did you see the channel Bookborn's review of the A Song of Ice and Fire book? Okay, yeah. So I found this was very interesting. And I think she just started doing them, and she's very new to the community. I left a comment. I don't remember what video it was on, though. I think it was like a Clash of Kings or Storm of Swords. And one of the things is she really likes Catelyn, and I understand why she likes Catelyn. But I kind of like defended the people that don't like Catelyn. I was like, well, we don't like Catelyn because she's just completely terrible to Jon. She makes a lot of bad decisions. She's a very human character, and she's very interesting to read, but she's not a character that like I like as a person necessarily. But yeah, I mean, I haven't watched her Dance with Dragons and A Feast for Crows review. I know I think really liked A Feast for Crows, which I found very surprising, but you know, everybody has their own opinion. I know we have the Feast for Crows lovers in this channel, so I can't hate on it. Is there a male name or Targaryen name for Daenerys? I can't think of one off the top of my head, Zeno, but chat, if you have an answer about that, you know, love to hear it. I don't care about the season 4 and 5 time period. Like, the problem with it is there's not much going on there in terms of, it's a lot of buildup, right? Like, a war is not breaking out. It's a lot of downtime. We're preparing for another war. And so it would be kind of like putting the player in the game at the beginning of like season 1 or book 1, right? Where it's like, it's just a weird point to jump into the story because you know there's not going to be a lot happening at that point. So, I don't know. I would cry if it was the first Blackfire Rebellion. That would be really cool, though. And Duncan Egg, do you think we should see the stuff that wasn't in the book, such as a young Duncan growing up in Flea Bottom? I think that'd be cool, but I don't think we're going to. But that will be cool. And that's the thing, right? As we move forward with the season of Duncan Egg and that stuff, they're going to have to fill in the gaps, right? They're going to have to do stuff that was in the books because we don't have a lot of those books out right now. So they have all the opportunities to make these stories with the two characters, and it's very open to interpretation. So, you know, it'd be cool to see. George wanted 13 seasons of the show, I think, but Dan and Dave rushed it to go to Star Wars, which, after the failure of Game of Thrones season 8, Star Wars told them to, yes. I will say, Game of Thrones, me trying to do a rewrite, I did a rewrite of the show, more or less, for like season 5, 6, more or less. There definitely could be at least 10 seasons. Right? Like, there could at least have been 10. Because I personally struggled with cramming A Feast for Crows and Dance Dragons into just 2 seasons. So if you put that Winds of Winter is going to be it's going to be the longest book in the series, probably. You could divide that into 2 seasons. So that's season 7, season 8, and then your last book, season 9, season 10. I definitely think so. And that's also going back further. We also were kind of cutting things here and there, but the story was still functional. So, I don't know. Good luck at your meeting, and thank you for stopping in as always. What are your thoughts on the audiobooks when compared with other great fantasies like The Wheels of Time? I find the Song of Ice and Fire audiobooks lacking. So, I will say, I haven't listened to the audiobooks for the main series in quite a while, Jason. So it's hard for me to really remember how good or bad they were. I remember them being pretty good. But I will say, Harry Lloyd's Duncan Egg audiobook, it's by far the best thing I've listened to on an audiobook. The best other things I've heard of is like Lord of the Rings, where people add in sound effects and they add in all these other things. Yeah. Also, it is starting to thunder a lot louder, so if the stream just dies, it's probably because my power went out or my internet goes out. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but just be prepared for that. But yeah, I would say if you have not listened to the audiobook on Audible by Harry Lloyd, or by him doing the voiceovers for Duncan Egg, I would highly recommend. Very good. I was wondering how, not seeing like Highgarden much and the battle being so quick just didn't make any sense. Yeah, the Tyrells I think will make a better stay in the book. They have to, right? They have one of the most largest armies. They can't be taken out like just like that. Like, I don't think they're the most experienced, and that's, you know, true. But you know, hi Ashley, how are you? Yes, agreed. Oh my god, it's thunder. I don't know if you guys can actually hear that. I don't think my mic's picking it up, but man, it is booming. Do you think another writer will take over for Martin if he doesn't finish the series? And are you fan of that? No, Jeff, I am not a fan of that. I just, to me, I don't think George would ever let anyone finish the series. He's kind of said that. Maybe it was a joke, maybe it wasn't. But I think it's his baby, right? It's like giving his project to someone else. I don't think that's ever going to happen. And I also wouldn't want anyone else to do it because I don't know if any other writer can really capture George R. R. Martin's world, the way he writes his characters and all that, even if George gave them a template. So to me, I would almost rather not have, you know, a situation where we go to book 6 and it's pretty mid, right? It's pretty okay. I wouldn't want that. right? Because it would feel like we got something just to get it, and that's not what I want, right? If Winds of Winter is bad, then I don't ever want it, right? I'd rather have continuation of the beautiful series that we have now than have someone else come in and it's just not the same. A game that has you choose if you want to support Daemon or Daeron. Yeah, that'd be a fantastic game, right? Like, that would be really awesome. Yeah, they possibly could, but you also got to remember, right? Like, there's probably going to be maybe 2-year gaps between each season. So the actor who's playing Egg is just going to age up naturally. So I don't think, like, we'll need to, but how do you think Euron will die? Ashley, did you ask this on YouTube? But because I know somebody asked about Euron. I think Euron is a really tough one for me, because a part of me thinks, kind of like Voice of Oldtown, that like it's going to be something involving Bran, and they're going to have some sort of like psychological warfare type thing, and like, because Euron's like probably a failed student of Bloodraven. But I also feel like maybe it's a mix of things. It's a mix of things of like Bran, Daenerys, that kind of thing, and that's what takes out Euron. But I don't think he will die until A Dream of Spring, Ashley, so I did want to point that out. You think the Blackfires will get love in the Dunk and Egg spinoff, or just become evil Targaryens? I think they will. If they don't like develop the Blackfires, and they miss the whole point of part of the Dunk and Egg series, right? It's to explore why people would want to go for Daemon, right? Like, what was the allure for going with them, right? And so you'll have some of that biased, right? You'll have part of it where it's like, yes, the Blackfires were rebels and stuff, but then you'll see that other side. That's how naturally the show should be. Who do you think are the 3 heads of the dragon? Do you think this is going to be revealed in Winds of Winter? I kind of think George is almost going to leave it up to like a mystery. Like, maybe we'll see a dragon switch hands to go to young Griff, or maybe Euron kills a dragon or something like that. But I think it almost will be left up to a mystery, and you could say like Jon, Daenerys, and young Griff could be the 3 heads of the dragon, but that would be my answer for it. Hi, April. How are you? I started the Dunk and Egg audiobook. Yeah, I got my friend to start it, and he really likes it, so I'm really glad. Every stream I have to do this, but only 39 days until House of the Dragon Season 2. Yes, I am very excited. Yes, we basically are supposed to have, I think, storms like almost all day today, and I think we're gonna have some tomorrow as well, but you know, it is what it is. Harry Lloyd was phenomenal as Viserys'. Performance in Game of Thrones is criminally underrated. I agree, right? Like, I'm rewatching season 1. I've been watching like 2 episodes a day. Once like in the middle of just doing work for stuff, and then I'll watch one when I go to sleep. And the last episode I've watched was Viserys' death scene, and he does such a great job of taking the book version of the character and putting it on screen. And that's why I really like the character of Viserys, even in the books and the show, because Harry Lloyd is able to capture someone that, yes, he's arrogant and naive, and he's kind of a spoiled brat, and he can be cruel, but he's also this person that is very tragic in his upbringing, and the weight of the Targaryen dynasty on his shoulders, and you know, just wanting to be acknowledged or attention. And in his final scene, you see that perfectly, right? Where he's, you know, he does something cruel, talking about killing Daenerys' child and her. But then you see that flip where you kind of see that boyish side of Viserys, or how Harry Lloyd is portraying the character of, this is really just all he wanted, was to be recognized, to have this crown or throne, or not throne, but he does want the throne, but this crown. He's just a fantastic actor, and it's a shame that we don't get to see more of him. I'd love to see him in some other project in this world, because I think he would do a fantastic job. Hey, maybe we could get Harry Lloyd narrating Fire and Blood Part 2, if that comes out, or more of the Dunk and Egg novellas. That'd be fantastic. Yeah, I think, Ashley, that was something that could have been really expanded upon for Daenerys, right? Thinking about her childhood and some of the experiences that she had with Viserys. And maybe even, like, you know, they recast a younger Daenerys, a younger, maybe Viserys. Or maybe they do bring back Harry Lloyd. And you know, you see more of a vulnerable side, you know, more of a better side of Viserys before he really started to kind of lose his way. That would have been really cool to see that. Do you think Daron was cut from the show? Or are they holding off of him until season 3? My best stab at this is if we were getting Daron, I think we would see him. I don't think they would hide him, right? I think he would be front and center in the marketing, but he isn't. He's not been spotted in any of the trailers. They haven't announced his character. I think personally that we are not going to see him in this season, which is unfortunate, but that's just my opinion based upon what they've done. You're right, Mass. You're right. The food descriptions would go downhill. Oh boy. I disagree. Ryan Condal, I appreciate his work at House of the Dragon, but he definitely could not write A Song of Ice and Fire. Like, he's already made a couple, like, missteps in the first season of House of the Dragon. Unfortunate. We're not doing that. So far behind comments. I'm trying to get through it. Do you think Quentin Martell would come back from the dead and be the new king? No, I hope he stays dead, Zeno, because Quentin sucks. Those storms just went through my area. I have 6 trees to cut up this weekend. Good luck, Dakota. Good luck. Sorry, I got spooked there for a second because I keep trying to scroll down and a Discord notification came on. Some of my friends are playing this game or whatever, and I thought I'd join their call for a second. I was about to be very spooked. I think Doran Martell is probably the most underrated character in the series. I don't think you're crazy at all, Nick. I think Doran is a pretty awesome character. I sympathize with him a lot because he has, like, back issues, and I also have back issues, so, yeah. I do not like the Tyrion Targaryen theory. I think it kind of takes away from his dynamic with Tywin and a lot of that relationship there and undermines it a bit, but I don't know. I also hope Fire and Blood Part 2 comes out as well. I think Harry Lloyd could play another Targaryen in Aegon's Conquest here. I think Harry Lloyd would be very good Aenys. I'm just throwing that out there. I think he'd be a very good Aenys. Yeah, I agree. I think Daron should have been in the show by now. I think it was a mistake for him not to be in there. 29 in chat, 12 likes do better, guys. Oh boy. Yeah, hit the like button. I'm working and lurking, but I'm listening. Larissa, you're always a little lurker. I know. I'll see you on the next stream. I love you shows. Yes, I try my best to keep it that way. I like it personally. But yes, I think he would be great as Aenys. Who would you cast for Maegor? I hate these questions. I hate when people ask, like, this is not to say, Dakota, I hate you, but I just hate the question of who would you cast for Maegor, because, or like, just people in general, because I don't know enough actors. Like, I don't know enough actors to give you a good, like, answer to that. So I'm just gonna say whoever does the best job. Maybe April, maybe. I like the Cersei Targaryen theory, but I guess that would make Jaime Targaryen. Yeah, I personally just don't like any of the Lannisters being Targaryens, honestly. Yes, I know, Dakota. You like to ruffle my feathers a little bit. All right, let's get back to questions. We got to get through them here. Yeah, through them. We're okay. We're doing okay. We're about 30 minutes in, and we've gotten through, like, Discord at least, so we're kind of doing okay. Shout out to my friend's wife, who constantly trolls me when I put out Instagram Q&As and says, "Does this take place in winter, and is it windy?" Okay, Hannah. That's all I gotta say is okay, Hannah. Better Call asks, if Jon is Robb's chosen heir, do you think he will accept the surname Stark or stick with Snow? See, this is an interesting question. I don't know. Because you got to also remember that at this point as well, he's going to probably figure out he's a Targaryen. So you also have to think about here, is he going to take a Targaryen name? Is he going to take a Stark name? Or does he just say, I'm going to keep the name Snow? I don't know. I usually have questions for these. Or I usually try to have answers for these, but I don't know. Also, Chris, thank you for subscribing. And Sheldon, thank you for subscribing as well. I don't know. My best guess would he would take the Stark name, not the Targaryen name, or he's just going to stay with Snow. But I could be wrong. Let me know what you guys think. I have not watched Vikings, Ashley, so I can't really answer that. I agree, Blake. Like, that's the thing, is I think some of the best actors we've gotten are people I've never heard of before. Right? Like, yes, that's not to say Peter Dinklage and Lena Headey, who I had, or Sean Bean, people I have heard of when I watched Game of Thrones, weren't fantastic, but there's just some hidden gems I had never heard of, right? Like, I think, you know, you look at the actors of like Joffrey, Ramsay, Theon, trying to think of some other good ones, Richard Madden, Roz Leslie, like all of them, or Rose Leslie. Like, there's a lot of underrated actors that I think both House of the Dragon and Game of Thrones get, and so it's very difficult to, you know, do that. John is not a Targaryen, it is known. Dakota, if you start putting some Ned and Ashara stuff in this chat, I will have to ban you. Not actually, but I'd think about it. I think he'll keep the name Snow. Yeah, I kind of lean towards that. I think it fits John more, but I think if he was gonna take one, I do think it'd be Stark over Targaryen. Larissa, you gotta simmer down. Simmer down. Okay. I'm gonna tell you guys a story just because that reminded me of a story. For some of the OG House of the Dragon fans, Ashley will know specifically. I used to have this mod, okay? And she, for some reason, had a thing for the crab feeder. So, you women, sometimes, I don't understand it. Well, I don't understand women all the time, but yeah, that's all I'm gonna say. Lee Pace's Blood Raven is perfect, by the way. I'm not gonna lie, that's a perfect one. April, you know what? Fair enough about the crab feeder. All right, let's continue with some questions. Let's continue. All right, we've got a question from Larissa. This is a banger question. If you could change anything in any chapter of any of the books, what would you change? So my go-to answer for that question, because I've been asked, I think, that before, but I don't think it's been like about a certain chapter. This is not something that has to do with just, this has something to do with like the entire story, really, is unnecessary sex stuff, or unnecessary stuff that's like, we get it, they're having sex, we don't need to go in depth about this type stuff. That is my biggest complaint with George's writing. I just, like, I do this all the time. You take a look at Asha's first chapter in Dance with Dragons, and it's just unnecessary sex. So, I get why it's happening, right? And it's important to the character of Asha to explain, like, you know, she feels boxed in and she has some little bit of happiness from this and escaping all of what her stresses, but do we need 2 pages of them having sex? Like, that's my problem. That would be my answer to that. Ashley, you got to go track down Glossy. Kyle, I already answered Kyle's. Matthew asks, will we see Uncle Benjen or at least learn of his fate? And do you think we could get the epilogue being Benjen, or for Benjen at least? Yeah, Benjen's a tough one, because I think the only way we see Benjen is going to be 2 ways. There's 2 ways it could happen. So one way is going to be Bran runs into him, going south from the cave he's at to the wall. That logically makes sense. That's where we could see Benjen. Maybe he's been captured, or maybe he's just barely surviving and he's been in hiding. He can't get back to the south, and so he meets Bran. And I think we could see Bran doing this through warging ravens or warging whatever, right? And so he finds Benjen. And so I think Benjen is a tough character because I think he will be used if he's still alive, or maybe if he dies in this book. I could see that happening as well. He could be used to give information about the others, what they're doing, and all those things. And so that could be interesting. But him as the epilogue, I don't see that happening. I think we're going to see maybe... I'd love to see Stannis as the epilogue. I don't know. I'm pretty sure that's bias, but I don't know. I'd like to see Stannis as the epilogue. N plus A equals J. Well, Dakota, you're getting muted. I'm joking, but you know. Which main character, who would you guarantee is not going to die? I would guarantee Sansa's not going to die. Bran's not going to die. Davos isn't going to die. And Brienne is not going to die. Those are just the ones that came off my head, top of my head. Google Clive Standen. That's my... Okay, hold on. I'll do this for you, Ashley. The things I do for Ashley on these streams. All right. Let me look at the name. Okay. Clive. And... I need a good image. Oh, that could definitely be a Maegor guy. That could definitely be a Maegor guy. He's going to have to get, you know, his eyebrows, you know, white and stuff, or, you know, all that. But, you know, I like it. I like it. Do we need 2 pages of sex? George R. Martin. Yes. Yep. My selfish wants of more Starks wants him to be alive and have more of a role than he did in the show. Fair enough, Matthew. I do think like they will, like Benjen will have more closure than he did in the show. Walder Frey is not going to die. Grease. Walder Frey is a dead boy. That's all I'm gonna say. I will super chat $100. Dude, there's no amount of money. There's no amount of money that I will acknowledge N plus A. There's no amount. Because it's not true. It's not true. It's not truthful. I will acknowledge that it's the wrong theory. But yeah. If you had to choose Prime Robert or Aemon the Dragon Knight to fight your trial by combat, who are you choosing? I am choosing Robert. Because Robert's going to have a hatred of going against a Targaryen. That's the only reason. That's the only reason. Because Robert is gonna be like, dragon spawn. It's Hulk time, baby. Oh boy. Dakota out here trying to sway me with money to accept that theory. I spit on you. No, I don't do that because you probably like that. We're not gonna act like I said that. Do you think Euron will be dead by the end of Winds? Another question by Taylor. She always goes ham on the questions, by the way. I already answered this during the stream, but I'll just say no. I think he will be more of a character in a a Dream of Spring. I keep saying a Dance of Dragons, but yeah. Maz says, for a world that's always at war, why haven't they advanced their weapons? This one, I don't really know. Right? Is this something to do with magic that's keeping the world kind of in a state of evolving? Right? We've had thousands of years, and it feels like the world hasn't evolved. There's probably definitely something there. I just don't know what it is. But yeah, I agree. That's very mysterious. I agree, Dakota. I also agree, April. The hypocrisy of Robert having part dragon spawn blood, and yet he always is like, the dragons, they all suck. Don't you kink shame me? Oh boy. Oh boy. Who do you think is Azor Ahai? I don't think there's one person that is at Azor Ahai. I think it is a mixture of people. Right? I think it's like a mixture of people combining to be that character. You know, Jon, Daenerys, maybe Youngriff, depending on how that goes. Krakens, I do think we could see some Krakens. I think it would be really cool if we saw some Krakens at the beginning of Winds of Winter. Ian, I'm always streaming when it's weird weather. It's the things I do. Things I do for you guys. Could be a tornado, could be dying right now, but here I am. Here I am. But welcome to the stream, Ian. Quentin asks, do you think little Robin will make it out of Winds alive, or will Littlefinger give him a sweet sleep? The way you worded that, I'm kind of torn on this one as well, because I think logically it makes sense for Robin to still be alive, because that's Littlefinger's claim to power. But he has said he wants to kill Robin, but I will say I'm going to go with I think he will be alive by the end of Winds of Winter. Do you think we'll actually get more of Oldtown, not only through Sam's, but another POV? That's a really tough one. Because in terms of who's going to be going to Oldtown, it'd be like Aeron, but he could be dead very quickly in the story, which I think is logical. We have Sam there, but how long is Sam going to be at Oldtown? So I would honestly go no. It doesn't make sense for us to stay a lot more at Oldtown. I think once Sam leaves it, we're done. So I think we'll get Sam's POV of Oldtown, and that's going to be it. But, yeah. I think my stream chat is frozen. Okay. I think my stream chat has frozen on my Streamlabs. So that's interesting. Krakens versus dragons versus giant ice spiders. Oh boy. Zach, from what we know, it's not made very clear, right? I would say maybe we just don't really know. We don't really know. It's not confirmed. Do you think Jon would have been a good advisor to Robb if he didn't want to be in the Night's Watch? Maybe the Red Wedding doesn't happen. The problem is Jon is someone that's just like Robb. They're just like each other. They've been raised by Ned. So, like, for instance, the Karstark situation. Don't think, like, Jon being there would have helped. Like, I don't really think a lot of the story changes in terms of Robb's campaign if Jon is there. Like, could Jon have convinced Robb not to send Theon to the Iron Islands? No. Right? Catelyn herself tried to do that, and Robb didn't listen. So, I don't really know, like, because Catelyn was also with Robb a lot, and he doesn't listen to her at times. So, I would probably lean towards it actually doesn't change that much, honestly. Watching from the basement. Happy to be here. Well, glad to have you, Ian. Glad to see you're staying safe in the basement if you're having bad weather at the moment. Do we think Aerys has any bastards? It seems odd to me that that we never hear of any despite his... So, the only thing I could think of, if Aerys doesn't have any bastards, we know he did struggle with actually having children, right? Like, he has Rhaegar, and then he has some miscarriages with Rhaella. They have Viserys, they have Dany. So, it's not, to me, impossible, right, that he had some sort of bastards. I think it's definitely possible, but I don't know, right? Because he was someone that definitely would have been hooking up with some whores and stuff, but we don't see a lot of, like, Targaryen-looking people, like, in King's Landing and around that area. That would definitely draw attention. So it is quite weird, right? Could some of those people have been saved? Like, maybe Varys knew about them, and so he saved one of these bastards of Aerys. That's who Aegon could be, right there. If you want to go down that route of, like, oh, Aerys had a bastard, and this person was maybe young Griff. Varys realizes this and saves that person to mold him as a king. That's very possible. Like, that could be something that happened. Will the High Tower be brought down by the Ironborn? I hope not. I hope not. What would you like to see more in Winds? The Oldtown question piqued the thought. So, I personally would love to dive more into the Maesters. I'd like to know how their order, like, works more. I'd love to see if... I don't think I'd want to see if the... You know, like, the Maester conspiracy is confirmed. I think it's much more interesting when it's left up in the air and we have to figure it out. I don't want George to tell us the answer, and he probably won't, just based upon the fact that, like, he just doesn't do that stuff. But I'd like to see more of Oldtown. I know it's weird coming from a Black supporter and someone that, like, doesn't like the Maesters, but it's just a very intriguing area. I'd like to see that more. I'd like to see, what else would I like to see of? I think I'm honestly just excited to see more of the Blackfire history, if we can explore more of that through the Golden Company and through, you know, young, or not young, but Jon, Con, and Arianne. I think that'd be really cool. Um, the TV show made Jon being Targaryen not a big thing, so N plus A equals day don't sound bad. A team? I'll allow you to say that this time. N plus A is a no. It's just no. It's just no. Don't even start me on that rant. I feel like Cersei deserves to die hard. I hope Arya wears Jaime's face and goes to Cersei, gives her a kiss, and then kicks her off off the tower like a poetic revenge for Bran. I really like that idea, and that's what made Cersei and Jaime's death so bad, is because so many people had theories like that, like that's how it was gonna end, and it just we should do a video on that. One of my favorite conversations. Wait, do a video on what? Ashley. Are the three-head Ray? Oh, are you talking about that? Maybe that could be a good video. I have to do some research into it though. That is true, Delroy. It is a shame. Like, how would he have reacted to that? True, Ashley. True about Rayella. Maybe, not sure. Maybe. It's spreading. I'm doing okay. Dakota, stop. Just you gotta stop. You gotta stop. Which character from Lord of the Rings do you think fits best in the Song of Ice and Fire, and vice versa? Let me think about that. I honestly feel like Sauron. In a weird way. Like, if you take away a lot of, like, maybe his wizard powers and stuff, and you make him more grounded, he's a character that's very complex in terms of, like, his morals and things before he turns, like, basically evil. But, like, he's a character that I think fits, like, a Song of Ice and Fire really well. So I'd say Saruman is, like, Saruman or Denethor. I think both of those characters really fit a Song of Ice and Fire well. And then vice versa, who's a good character for Lord of the Rings from a Song of Ice and Fire? I think the obvious answer is Ned. So I'll just say Ned on that one. But I could also see Sansa as well. Just kind of the way she's brought up and views the world. I think Ned and Sansa to me. Percentage of the time spent in Westeros versus Essos for wins. We are going to spend a long time in Essos. It's not going to be as long as Westeros, but we just have a lot of POVs in Essos. A lot that needs to get done. But I think we'll see a lot of Essos. Boromir and Sam Tarly. Those are good options as well. Oh, God. No. Not the N plus H. It needs to... Or N plus A. It needs to die. Kill it. All right, let's move on. Okay, so I have no other questions on Instagram. Let's move to YouTube. And also, if I do not get to one of your guys' questions, depending on how long the stream goes, which I think we'll get to all the questions, but I will always just do them in the next stream. So if you ever wonder, like, if you ask a question, I just can't, I don't get to it, I will always do it in the next stream. Or on the next Q&A stream, because I want to have these, like, kind of like every week plus. Okay. Cameron asks, will Arya become a faceless man? Will Bran become the three-eyed raven and wins? I think Bran will become the three-eyed raven and wins. I think he's going to basically take on those powers because I think they're going to need a new vessel. And so I think Bran will become that vessel. Will Arya become a faceless man? I think she'll become not, like, she won't be a full faceless man. I think she'll learn some of the things of how to do it. But I don't think she's going to be, like, wanting to cooperate with that order. And I don't think she's going to be one fully. User asks, could George somehow work Aegon's prophecy from House of the Dragon into Winds of Wind? Yeah, he definitely could. Again, I'm not a huge fan of the Aegon's prophecy stuff because it feels very shoehorned in. I've talked about this, but you definitely can, right? If you given the way you look at the way Fire and Blood was written, it's kind of vague in terms of Aegon's motivations and things like that, and that information could have not like passed down. And given Rhaegar's motivations, it definitely could, right? I definitely think you could have that prop up. All it takes is Sam finds something at Oldtown, maybe that Rhaegar found or whatnot. It definitely could happen. Arya is the best asks, what are your thoughts on Dunk and Egg season 1 being 6 episodes? Could each episode be longer? Yeah, I mean, Dunk and Egg is a weird one because I'm not sure what they're trying to cover in the first season, right? I don't know if they're trying to cover like the first novella plus maybe some added content in there or what they're doing with the seasons. But again, I think the world's their oyster when it comes to Dunk and Egg. They have so much they can do with the characters because we just don't know a lot about them in terms of, the early life of Dunk and Egg, and then, Aegon becomes king, and there's a lot of stuff you can use to fill in those gaps, or even one line of stuff that we hear in Dunk and Egg, but we don't really know what happens that you can kind of expand upon. So I'm not really worried about Dunk and Egg, really. Will Bloodraven finally die? Yes, Aegor. I do believe Bloodraven will die in the next book. I think he may live on in Bran, which is something you might not like to hear, but I do think we'll finally see him die. First major death outside of the prologue. Also, do you think Jon's parentage will be revealed in Winds of Winter? I think his parentage will be revealed by the end of Winds of Winter. And also, thank you for the question, W. But the first death outside of the prologue. Ooh, it's got to be a major death as well. I know people really think Barristan's going to die, but I don't think so. But it could be Barristan. It could be Hostine Frey, who's leading the Freys at this point, more or less. I don't know if you consider him a major character, though. Shireen could be somebody that dies early on. Trying to think of other characters that I could see dying right away. I think those are kind of the main candidates right now on the Death Watch, but we'll see. Let me go back to chat. Hold on. Could Dunk be an ancestor of Hodor? I saw a video about Old Nan possibly meeting Dunk. I don't know a lot about the theory, Dakota. I wouldn't rule it out given Hodor's size and all of that. It does seem very abnormal, but I definitely think it's possible. Yes, we do need more Blackfire love. Tommen needs to die before Cersei, though. Agreed. Yeah, Tommen and Myrcella, I think, will both die before Cersei. How do you think Stannis' story will end in the books? And thank you for the question, Chin. I think he is going to die more or less giving his life for Westeros. I think it ties well into his character arc. But I think he will die almost defending Winterfell. As the wall comes down, and we're going to need something to kind of allow, I think, our forces of the North to escape. They can't have this big confrontation with all of our Northern forces alone. They're going to get wiped out, right? So I think what we'll see is we'll see the wall come down in terms of the Horn of Winter with possibly Euron. And I think we see Stannis giving his life to allow and buy some time to the rest of our forces like Jon Snow. Again, I think that kind of perfectly wraps up his arc. Being the king who was never really the king, but he was the one that was willing to do things to protect his people. It really goes behind that idea of him coming north to protect the wall and all that stuff. Just have to kill Bran as well. Oh boy. A Sand Snake? Yeah, that's definitely possible. Arya Hoda could very easily die going against Darkstar. I know Ashley's a big fan of that one. But, I agree on the Barry one. What do you think about House Tyrell's future? I think House Tyrell is not in a good spot. They are basically in an uneasy alliance with the Lannisters. You have young Griff landing. You have Euron attacking them. They have gone almost untouched up until this point. I don't think that's going to stay the same, right? I think Marjorie will die. I think Ace will die. I think Olenna might be one of the last Tyrells to die, but I think she's going to die. I think Willis and Garland may die. I think if one of them is going to live, I think it could be Willis, given he won't be a fighter and all that stuff. But I think the Tyrells are going to be for a bad time here. I do think Stannis will be the epilogue. Oh, sorry. You're talking about Dream of Spring. In Dream of Spring, I think it could be maybe like Jon, Bran, any of those. Oh yeah, I think we'll definitely see some more impactful deaths. I think Stannis is one that will be an impactful death, given how much people love him in the fandom. I think we're gonna see probably another like Red Wedding-esque event, but it won't be like our major favorite characters dying. It's gonna be kind of a twist on that. Seeing young Griff possibly die in the future could be pretty brutal. Giving Arianne and Jon Con will probably also die. If Dany dies, I definitely think we have a lot more of those events. I hope not, Chin. I don't think so, but I hope not. All right. Going back to the YouTube question. Who do you this question is from Ryan. Who do you think will be the first and last characters, POV or non, to die and win? Stannis being the last for me. The first, it's gonna probably be somebody in the prologue. Like maybe it could be somebody like, I don't know. That's a tough one. It could be someone like a Jane Westerling type character in that party going west. I'm not sure though. Do you think Bloodraven and the children know Bran is walking around as Hodor since skin changers notice other skin changers' presence? Why aren't they teaching him about the abomination taboos? Is it because it's more of a human concept and is normal for singers? Finally, if Jojen Pace isn't true, how do you think Jojen will die? Thanks for the videos. By the way, thank you, Kitty. I always struggle on your name, but Kit, I appreciate that. I do believe so, right? I think it would be kind of weird if they didn't know that, and I think it's one of those things where they see it. If you got to remember, Bloodraven is the person here. Bloodraven believes in, he'll do some cruel things if it's for what he believes is the greater good, right? If Bran using Hodor is helping him learn how to use his powers and things like that, and Bloodraven might even be thinking Bran might have to do this in the future, controlling someone's actions. I think Bloodraven doesn't view it as a bad thing, right? You got to remember, Faramir is the one we get introduced on that idea. Not like Faramir was learning from Bloodraven on all these rules. Each one of these skin changer groups are going to have different rules. So I think that is part of it. But in terms of the idea of Jojen Pace isn't true, how do you think Jojen will die? I don't know, because I already believe Jojen's dead. Like, I believe Jojen Pace is almost canon at this point. But if he's not somehow dead, I say he just dies on the way back to the wall. From Cameron, what is your favorite castle in Song of Ice and Fire? It's probably just Dragonstone. I love the design of Dragonstone. I wish we saw it. Well, we see it quite a lot, but I'd like to see more like just shots like looking at the castle. That'd be cool. But I would say A Song of Ice and Fire, in A Song of Ice and Fire, my favorite castle is Dragonstone. What is your favorite on-page fight / battle? Also, which off-page battles or fights have the most impact on what we see in the story? Do you think your answers change with the 4 rumored battles to start? Yeah, I definitely think they could. I think the battle kind of for Winterfell in Winds of Winter could change this, but my favorite on-page fight is the Battle of the Blackwater. I just think for obvious reasons. I've done an analysis of that battle. I really love everything that happens. The way it's paced is really fantastic. I think that's just my favorite. The off-page battle, I think, is an interesting one, because there's a couple. If you consider the Battle of the Whispering Wood to be off-page, because we don't really see the Battle of the Whispering Wood, we kind of hear what happened afterwards type thing. That would have been cool to have like a Robb POV of that chapter. That would have been really cool. I think Robb's campaign in the West would have been really cool, as that's off the page, of course. Any of, I think, Jaime Lannister's early battles in the War of the Five Kings against Edmure and all those fights would have been really cool to see. Those those are the ones that kind of come to my mind. But yeah. I already asked or answered this question in terms of Benjen and wins, so I won't really, go through that one again. Also, thank you for the question, Ian. But Bowell asked, how many characters with POVs will die in wins? That's a hard one. I could definitely see like Hoda dying, Victarion dying, Aaron dying. I could see, who else could I see dying? That's a POV. Cersei, there's an off chance maybe she dies in this book. Jaime could possibly die. Those are the ones that kind of come to my head. Will Marcella finish this book alive? I do not think so. I think she's going to die to one of the Sand Snakes. And who is going to be the epilogue? Again, I believe the epilogue is going to be Stannis. Bill Joe asks, where will Bran be by the end of Winds? He has to be south of the Wall. I think he's going to be on his way and or met up with our forces of the North around the neck area. He cannot still be up north by the end of this book. So, yeah. I think the odds of Stannis surviving Winds of Winter, Bill Joe, is very low. Like, I mean, very, very, very low. And then you ask, what are my thoughts on, like, Jon Snow willing to actually leave the North? Again, if it's in terms of, if he stays here, he will die, and the rest of the world is doomed. He will leave. That's kind of how I view it. Will Melisandre die? I don't think she'll die in this book, but the next one I think she will. The others should be through the Wall and kind of invading the North by the end of Winds of Winter, Bill Joe, would be my answer to that question. And I think if Stannis ends up dying, Davos will end up following like just the North and in general at this time in the struggle against the others. Another question. Do you think the story will end with a great council for who will sit the Iron Throne? I think it's very likely, or at least a meeting to decide the future of the country. Will Edric Storm re-enter the story at any point as a potential heir to the Storm? Yes, he definitely will. There's just been too many comments about the character, and I think he's so useful to the story right now that yes, I do think we will see that. I think the Tyrells, it's a struggle. I don't know. I think if they don't control the Reach, I think it will be the Hightowers, which is basically the Tyrells because they're married to each other. And the prologue, I think, for Winds of Winter will be kind of surrounding that party going from Riverrun to the west with Jane Westerling. A lot of questions there from Bill Joe. I tried to get through them as best I could. But yeah. Oh boy, I am so far behind on comments. Hold on. Do you think Bran will end up being the king just like the show? I think it's possible. I also think it's possible that maybe he's in a situation where he's like a king of maybe just a certain section of Westeros type thing. But I do think that's a very George R. R. Martin way to end the story. So I do think it's definitely a good possibility. Are there any news about Winds of Winter? Is he really? Yeah, we've had nothing on an Alloy and within the last like year and a half. Lex, that's another great point. Ario might just be dropped as a POV or something. We just look back, maybe a chapter or two, or we just get to see Duran's reactions to things going on. I love the theory about Littlefinger starting Robert's Rebellion by accident. What do you think this was? What do you think was in his letter to Catelyn? That's a good question. And that's a great question. I don't have a big theory on that. My idea would just be that it was more or less that he was still maybe in love with her or something like that. White Walkers taking over is the best ending for a Song of Ice and Fire. That would be another George R. R. Martin ending, right? That because all of the human population was focused on all these other things that they didn't band together and the White Walkers took over. I think that could be a logical ending as well. I agree, Ian, and then no problem on answering your question. Um, the others make it to the Riverlands. I hope they make it much further than Winterfell. I think they'll make it probably around the neck area, a little bit into kind of the Riverlands. Is Rickon eating people food now? Delroy, I wouldn't count on it. If Frey will sit the throne at the end, of course. Of course. Are wildlings still going to be a thing by the end of the series? I know they're south now, but like the show, will some voluntary return? Yeah, I think some will, right? Once their home is kind of free of the others. Remember, the reason they end up going south is because of the others. Because of that threat. They're basically being kicked out of their territory. If that territory is then, livable again, yeah, I think of course they will definitely go back. Who do you think the last boss of the story is? I think it is Cersei. I think it's basically either going to be the others, or it'll be Euron, or it'll be Dany herself. I don't think it'll be Cersei. What are your thoughts about... So Lady Stoneheart, I think her whole plot is going to be about getting revenge, right? That's what her character is driven by. So I think in a situation where we're going to see a possible revenge wedding, have a bunch of Freys and Lannisters all together for a wedding, they now have a way of getting in, whether through Jaime, whether that be of Tom. He has an entry right now at Riverrun. Currently, he's infiltrated them. There is everything that's been set up in place for this wedding to happen. And I think it's going to be a twist on, oh, wow, this is kind of brutal. Like, we're seeing a character like Devin Lannister, a character that's pretty likable, right? We see him with Jaime when he gets to Riverrun. He's a very likable character. I think we're going to see people being butchered that are innocent. They have nothing to do with any of this. And this isn't justice. This is just revenge. And it's horrible. And so I think Arya then will come into the story at this time, right? Because this directly connects with her storyline of revenge and recounting all these names, people she wants to kill. And we see Arya then come into the story, realizing what, her mother's become. And that's how Stoneheart's, her story ends. I agree, Master. I think it's a good idea, Jon going back beyond the wall in the end, getting his own internal peace type thing. Ashley, I think it's a great point. I think it definitely could be. Also, no problem, Chin. No problem. How does Jaime get out of the situation with Lady Stoneheart and Brienne? Are Hyle Hunt and Podrick dead? I don't think that they are dead. I think what we're going to end up seeing is kind of how Brienne and Jaime are going to be used in terms of getting into this wedding. And I think in the ensuing chaos, that's where they'll be allowed to get free. And people like Thoros and the other followers that maybe are not as in tune to what's going on, releasing them, seeing what's happening, and that they are not supporting them. We've already kind of seen this, right? There's some sort of kind of dissent within what the purpose of the Brotherhood is. That is going to be the key there, I think, for Jaime and Brienne getting away. Or even if they meet up with, I think this would be a really cool one, Blackfish. And Blackfish seeing maybe Jaime for not the person that he's thought he is for so long and freeing him. That would be an interesting idea as well. That would be an interesting one of Rickon having the twins by the end of the series. I agree, April, on King's Landing and the Martells. Who do you believe the murderer in Winterfell is? This is a difficult question, right? I don't know, right? Could it be some, bannerman of the Starks? Possibly. I don't know. There's not a lot of information to really have a concrete answer of who it is. Lex, I don't know. It could be some maybe information in terms of what we're going to see later in the future of the books. But yeah, there isn't really a lot to speculate on that because we just don't know anything about it, right? It hasn't been brought up like you talked about. Delroy, that could definitely be the situation where Skagos really is not as bad as it's made out to be. And it could be that idea of, we've seen a couple of these people, and so we stereotype the entire island. Maybe that's not the case. That definitely could be the possibility. I do think, though, It's probably going to be on the darker side, but yeah. Nick, I haven't ever thought about it that way, but possibly. I tend to believe it's going to be more of a thing with Mel and John than anything to do with Bran, but that would be interesting. Yeah, I think this hooded man that Theon keeps thinking, or seeing, I think that's all in his head. I think that's all him kind of seeing things and his internal demons and stuff like that. But yes, that is all of my questions for today. Thank you guys for participating in the stream. Love it as always. And for you guys participating as well. I do got some interesting videos for you guys coming out this week, and I hope you enjoy them. I really put some special time into a Euron video I made for the weekend. So I hope you guys all enjoy.